Greetings, CinemaBlend fans, and welcome to HeroBlend number 166. I'm your host, events editor Eric Eisenberg, and this is the show that we have been hyping for weeks upon weeks because I have finally seen Avengers Infinity War. You guys are about to see Avengers Infinity War, and now we can actually kind of sort of talk about it. And the reason I say kind of sort of is because this is going to be a completely spoiler-free discussion of this film. I know that a lot of you guys have tickets to go see it tonight, tickets to go see it on the whole rest of the weekend. So I have absolutely zero interest in ruining this movie for you. If you want to even check out my spoiler-free review, it's currently available on CinemaBlend. But I'm sure that you guys have some non-spoiler questions that we can talk about here. And I will also mention that the HeroBlend podcast that we now do will kind of extend this conversation and go into those whole ton of like different spoiler discussions, and that will be online tomorrow morning. So just to kind of start off, and please hit the comment section with your thoughts. I want to hear your questions and anything that you are curious about this movie, kind of within reason. But I will just kind of establish a baseline opinion of what this movie is, and I will say it legitimately lives up to the hype that has been surrounding it for a full decade now. As has been said by Marvel Studios time and time again, everything has been leading to this. When they started the Marvel Cinematic Universe with Iron Man, all in total, we have waited 18 movies, 10 years. That is a significant amount of time, and yet somehow it actually lives up to it. It's really an extraordinary thing, and really it all ties back to Thanos, because obviously, if you are building this guy up for, again, 6 years, this guy has to be the terrible, horrible wave of nightmarish evil that you've been waiting for forever and actually have that kind of effect on the audience. And it absolutely does. Josh Brolin's performance, even just I don't know how anybody could look down at performance capture, especially, I mean, after seeing what Andy Serkis has done with the Planet of the Apes movies, but especially with this film, because Brolin is just a force to be reckoned with. It's absolutely incredible. It's emotional, it's deep, it's dark, it's really extraordinary and something to behold. First question comes from Vivian Smith, who says, what are Thanos' motives for world destruction? Great segue. Kind of best part about this, and mind you, I am not supporting Thanos' plan in any way. It is a nightmarish, horrible, like fascistic, disgusting, horrific nightmare. However, the points that Thanos actually makes for his argument for why he wants to do what he wants to do are actually really solid, which is the fact that this is a universe that has a limited number of resources. There's only so many things that we can do with what currently exists, and yet population continues to grow and grow and grow. And so all of the strife, in his opinion, all of the strife in the entire universe is generated from the fact that there are too many of us and not enough to go around. So essentially, by cutting that number in half, everybody will have plenty. And more importantly than that, it's completely random. It's not like you are saving all of the rich people and killing all the poor. It's not like you are saving all of the evil people that agree with you and killing all of the good people who might oppose you. It's not anything like that. It's a completely random thought, and it's fascinating. It's really what makes Thanos a fascinating character and propels you through this film, because if I didn't already make it clear, this is his movie. Thanos is the real deal, and his motivations are legit. In the same way that made Eric Killmonger amazing in Black Panther, in the same way that made Adrian Toomes fantastic in Spider-Man Homecoming. Definitely one hell of a villain. New question from Lacey Page just says, I need to know, will I cry? Yes. I don't know how else to answer this question other than yes. If you have an emotional connection to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, if you have like allowed yourself to fall in love with these characters, whether it be over the last 10 years watching these movies or just through decades and decades of comics, you're gonna have a feeling in this movie, because it has been hyped to no end by the filmmakers and Kevin Feige and the Russos and Marcus McFeely that there are devastating consequences, that people are going to die in this movie, and they're not lying to you. There are serious things in this movie, and especially the ending, which you may have heard buzz about, but I will not get into in any single detail until our podcast. But it's devastating. You feel like your heart, and as I worded it in my review, you feel like your heart is just kind of encroaching your spine just because it feels like it's weighing that much in your chest. And as you're watching the credits, you kind of just need to sit back and take a breath, because it is a lot to take in. So when you ask, are you going to cry? Yeah, if you really care, you're probably gonna cry, and I know that is a lot of you. So, I will also just continue even just talking about it on that note. Um, the treatment of the heroes is kind of a fascinating thing, and I will kind of balance this as a criticism and as a positive nature of this movie because it is been hyped again to no end that this is the movie where all of the Avengers and all the Guardians of the Galaxy finally come together. They get to meet, and it is that movie, and that is a grand total of something like 22 to 24 heroes. That's a lot of characters to balance, and frankly, like, because this is Thanos' story, it's not like you are getting a full blown Captain America adventure or a full blown Iron Man adventure. Everybody is legitimately sharing screen time, so it is kind of weird just in the way that the movie kind of bounces you back and forth through this narrative, which, by the way, spans the cosmos. There's plenty of stuff that deals on Earth, plenty of stuff that deals outwards, but like it is just a strange kind of entity, just in that, like you're not focusing on any single one of these heroes who you've grown like incredibly attached to. Every single character has a big moment that I will add. Again, without getting into any single details, but it is interesting that it's not like you're going to have a huge standout hero within this movie. Frankly, the standout person in this movie is Thanos. It's Thanos' movie, and frankly, that's how it needs to be. From Brad Christian that says, "Can you please explain why Guardians of the Galaxy characters team up with the Avengers?" Um, hmm. This is interesting because I don't want to give away too much. I guess I can approach it in kind of broad terms. So, using just based on what you see in the footage, this is a serious dancing. I have so much sympathy for all the actors and filmmakers who have been like trying to talk about this movie but not talk about this movie. So, as you've seen in the trailers, the Guardians of the Galaxy basically come across Thor as he's floating in space. I will say it's kind of suggested in the movies, so I don't suggest all the things that lead up to it, but it's kind of implied what happens at the end of Thor Ragnarok does directly lead into these events, and the Guardians of the Galaxy essentially connect with it because I guess it's a beacon. Like there is an emergency beacon that they're responding to that takes them into the story, and from there, there is, as I mentioned in the story, like as far as kind of mingling goes, Rocket and Groot are spending a good portion of the time with Thor. Star-Lord, as seen in the trailers, it's Star-Lord, Mantis, and Drax are really the ones that are kind of hanging out with Iron Man, Doctor Strange, and Spider-Man. So they are kind of splitting up a little bit. Just be prepared for that. But there is plenty of mingling, and it's also once again very much a highlight of this movie is just seeing these characters who have for the longest time existed on a disparate portion of this universe and bring them all together. This next question is another one from Brian Kreisen, who says, will they make a Thanos origin movie or a prequel movie? That's interesting. Frankly, after as I was just saying, I find Thanos such a fascinating individual and character in this movie that I'd be happy to see more of this character explored. That being said, there is a good amount of history of Thanos that you get out of this story, so that's something to very much look forward to. It is you do learn to emotionally connect with him by understanding where he's come from. So it's not like you're going to get an origin story per se. However, that being said, it was recently revealed. I feel bad that I can't remember the exact source of the story, but Kevin Feige at the junket for Avengers: Infinity War this past weekend was talking about the fact that they are developing an Eternals movie, and Eternals is the race that Thanos is a part of. They exist on the planet Titan, which you do get some history of in Avengers: Infinity War for what that's worth. And so an Eternals movie definitely could explore that. I mean, it could explore certain elements of the Thanos character that aren't that you don't necessarily get to in Avengers: Infinity War. But like I said, there is you get a lot of Thanos in this movie, and more to come. Jeez, this is so hard. This is hard, guys. Lacey Page asks another question, which is, how's the CGI? The CGI, you guys, it's phenomenal, and I actually like all around. It's great. I mean, you are bringing to life. I mean, it's all like there's so much cosmic action, and just I mean, you're dealing with different aliens and stuff like that. It's this. You could have certain sequences that don't necessarily look good and kind of stand out. And frankly, there have been Marvel Studios movies where I've actually felt that way. it's flawless in this movie. I don't know how much, I can't even imagine the ungodly amount of money that they spent putting this together. But especially, I mean, I will especially point, give special attention to, again, Josh Brolin as Thanos, because he's brought to life with performance capture, the exact same technology that was used to bring Andy Serkis's Caesar to life in the Planet of the Apes movies. And it is just gorgeous. I don't know how else to explain it. With Andy Serkis in those Planet of the Apes movies, at least it's like a chimpanzee. Humans know what a chimpanzee looks like. And so there's kind of just a certain recognition there that you kind of connect with. With Thanos, it is a completely different thing because he is this just towering figure, this giant purple alien that, like, back in the 90s, they probably would have just painted the guy purple. That probably just would have been, or back in like the 70s through 90s, that probably what they would have done. In the like aughts, they probably would have done some kind of terrible CGI job that would have just made him look awful. Technology truly is, we are now at a point in cinema, which is, I think, a huge part of why these movies have become so popular, where these characters can be brought to life in an incredibly lifelike fashion. And it really is completely there. And it's not even only him. I mean, Hulk still looks fantastic. I mean, and that's been a process that we've seen developing ever since 2008 with the Incredible Hulk. Ever since Ruffalo got the part in Avengers, he's just been looking better and better. I'd say that Hulk looks better now than he did in Ragnarok, for what that's worth. The various members of the Black Order, which are the children of Thanos, that kind of help him seek out the Infinity Stones, they look absolutely phenomenal. It's really just, the technology has gone to such extreme levels that it's really a special thing to behold. What else can I say? I'll quickly talk about the action, because I will say, I actually did rewatch a bunch of I rewatched all of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies prior to Black Panther, so I didn't do a full refresher course leading up to Infinity War, but I did rewatch some of them. The thing that really stuck out to me about both Winter Soldier and Civil War is just that the action is just, you can't look away from it. It is just so incredibly absorbing. Like, even if you are like, even if these movies are in the background and you're just kind of checking them out, as soon as the action happens, you are totally invested and totally there. And I will say, the Russos, with their third film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's stunning. Like, and they're littered throughout, and you have many different like contextual fights. Obviously, the fact that you now have Doctor Strange hanging out with the Avengers means that you have and the Guardians of the Galaxy means that you are bringing those kind of magical fantasy elements to all of the sci-fi action. I will, without saying too much, say that Iron Man's new suit has a lot of special surprises that are just really incredibly badass. Spider-Man, we've seen a bit of the Iron Spider costume teased in these commercials. However, nothing there is a lot more tricks up that thing's sleeve that you're just not ready for, and just looks crazy, crazy cool. As I was mentioning, we are going to be running out of time. However, I will be diving more into this as we get into the podcast, which I will be recording very, very shortly after this. It will be online on CinemaBlend and on iTunes starting tomorrow morning. Again, it's going to be a mostly spoiler-heavy conversation. We will be kind of continuing this non-spoiler bit for 10 minutes into the show, but after that, it is all on the table, and there is definitely a lot to talk about. Highly recommend you tune in. So check that out. And of course, next week we will be back at our normal time here on Facebook Live on the CinemaBlend page at 1 p.m. PST, 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. EST. I hope you guys join us then, and I'll see you.